Every day I see parents walk their kids into my academy, and I can feel the weight that they carry. They want their children to be strong, disciplined, and confident in a world that doesn't always encourage that. And in here, that's exactly what we work on. Not just the martial arts, but the mindset, the heart. See, here's what 20 years of marriage and fatherhood has taught me that 12 years in the military couldn't. The battle for your family is fought in the small moments. It's fought at the dinner tables without phones. It's fought in the morning when you wake up early to train with your kids instead of letting them sleep till noon. It's fought every time you choose the hard conversations over the easy silence, waiting for the mood to pass. And over a decade of military service has showed me how to fight external enemies, how to strategize against visible threats, how to maintain discipline under pressure. But marriage, fatherhood, taught me about the invisible war, the war that happens in living rooms and kitchens and car rides to the school, the war that's won or lost in the decision to put devices away during meals, and the war that's determined by whether you'll sacrifice comfort to demand excellence from your children or your family. This domestic battlefield is where character is forged or destroyed. When you insist that phones stay out of the dining room, you're not just creating a rule, you're declaring that human connection matters more than digital distraction. When you drag yourself out of bed at the crack of dawn to train alongside your child, you're not just exercising, you're demonstrating that their development is worth your sacrifice. When you engage in the difficult conversations about standards, discipline, expectations, setting rules and boundaries instead of avoiding the conflict, you're not just communicating, you're modeling courage. These moments seem insignificant individually, but collectively, these will form the foundation of everything your child will become when they turn into an adult. This battle isn't won in grand gestures or dramatic interventions. It's won in the accumulation of small, consistent acts of intentional parenting, mentoring. The enemy isn't just the phones and the feeds and all the processed garbage they call food. The enemy is comfort. The enemy is the voice that says, just this once. The enemy is the part of us that is tired, that wants to take the easy path, that thinks someone else will handle it. But let me be more specific about what we're really up against. Yes, the smartphones are weapons designed to capture and hold attention. Yes, social media algorithms are engineered to create addiction. Yes, the processed food industry has turned our children's nutrition into a profit center. But these are just the tools. The real enemy is our own human nature, our tendency to choose the path of least resistance. The enemy is that voice in your head that says it's easier to give the kid the tablet than to engage them in conversation. It's the rationalization that one more fast food meal won't hurt. It's the exhaustion that makes you skip your bedtime routine. That's what actually matters. It's the comfort zone that keeps you from having these conversations that make everyone uncomfortable but push everyone forward. This enemy lives inside us all, and it's relentless. It whispers that we've had a long day, that we deserve to take the easy route. We've worked hard, we've had a hard life, that our children will figure things out eventually. It convinces us that consistency isn't the important thing, that the exceptions, every once in a while, they're harmless, that someone else teaches, coaches, society, all these other people, that they will fill in the gaps we're leaving. The most dangerous enemy is the one that makes surrender feel reasonable, the one that makes giving up feel like self-care, the one that transforms parental responsibility into optional activity. You see, I've been to war. I understand what those kind of enemies look like. You can see them sometimes, and most of the time. But I'm telling you right now, the war for our children's souls is happening right here, right now, and in our own homes. And we're losing because we keep thinking someone else is going to fight it for us. See, in those foreign lands, enemies often wore uniforms, or they were shooting at us, so we knew they were our enemies. Or they carried weapons we could see, and they occupied territory we could map. We knew where they were, we knew where they were coming, we knew where they were going. The rules of engagement were clear: get positive identification and defeat them. It could be measured. That kind of warfare was brutal, but it had clarity, simplicity. Domestic battles don't have that. This war, this fight for our children's character, their strength, their future, this is far more complex and critical than any overseas conflict I've ever experienced. The battlefield is everywhere. The breakfast table, where you decide to rush through the morning or create space for connection. The living room, where you choose between screen time and conversation. The backyard, where you determine whether physical activity and fresh air matter more than indoor comfort. We're losing ground every day because we've convinced ourselves that the battle is someone else's responsibility and not our own. We've outsourced the formation of our children's character to institutions that do not share our values, to systems that profit from our children's weakness, to cultures that celebrate mediocrity and dependency. The casualties in this war aren't measured in blood, but in something far more precious, the souls of our children. The confidence, their resilience, their ability to face difficulty with strength instead of crumbling under the pressure. Every day we fail to engage in this battle is another day our children absorb the message that struggle is something to be avoided rather than embraced. The school system, they're not coming to save your kid. The government, they profit when your child is weak and dependent. The entertainment industry, they make billions keeping your children addicted and distracted. Social media companies, their business model depends on your child's insecurities and endless scrolling. Let's be brutally honest about something. About the institutions we've trusted with our children's development. The education system has transformed from a place that built character and competence into a machine that processes compliance and conformity. They're not interested in creating strong, independent thinkers. They're interested in creating manageable, predictable outcomes that fit their bureaucratic systems. Everyone needs to get an A, or you didn't do your job. The government benefits from citizens who look to external authority for solutions rather than enveloping internal strength and self-reliance. They need people to believe that problems are too big for individual action, that change requires institutional intervention, that personal responsibility is an outdated concept. A generation of strong, self-sufficient, disciplined young people threatens the very foundation of a system we now live in that is built on dependence and control. The entertainment complex has discovered that confused, insecure, struggling young people are incredibly profitable. They manufacture content that amplifies anxiety, promotes victimhood, and normalizes dysfunction because that's what generates engagement, sells products, and creates long-term consumers. Healthy, confident kids don't need the constant stream of distraction and validation that drives these billion-dollar industries. Social media platforms have turned our children's natural desire for connection and approval into a revenue stream. They weaponize insecurity. They've monetized comparisons and created addictive systems that keep young people scrolling, clicking, and consuming instead of building, creating, and growing. These companies employ teams of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists to make their products as addictive as possible and then market them to children as tools for self-expression and self-connection. Each of these systems has a vested interest in keeping our children weak, dependent, distracted, and disconnected from their own strength and their own potential. So who's left? That's you and that's me. That's us, the parents, the coaches, and community members who refuse to surrender. When all the institutions fail, when all the systems work against us, when all the experts offer solutions that make problems worse, what remains is the power of individual commitment and community and connection. The parent who decides that their child's development is their responsibility, the coach who understands that physical training is character training, the neighbor who models excellence instead of accepting mediocrity. We are the resistance. Not because we're fighting against progress or change, but because we're fighting for the timeless principles that create strong human beings. Discipline, resilience, personal responsibility, and courage. The courage to face difficulty head on. This isn't about nostalgia or trying to return to some imagined golden age. This is about recognizing certain human needs and developmental requirements are constants across time and culture. Children need structure. They need challenge. They need adults who believe in their potential and demand their best effort. They need to learn that strength comes from struggle, and that character comes from choice, and that confidence comes from competence. But you want to know the truth? Every kid who walks through my doors changes me. Every parent who tells me their child stopped quitting and started standing up for themselves, found their confidence, doing their schoolwork, listening better at school, performing better at home, that's what keeps me going. Because I remember what it was like to be lost. I remember what it was like before I found discipline. I remember what it was like before my family required these things from me. These transformations aren't abstract success stories or marketing testimonials. Real children discovering capabilities they didn't know they possessed. These are real families building relationships that some may have seemed beyond repair. They're real parents discovering their power to influence their children's development with profound and lasting ways, suffering together, learning together, being vulnerable together. All at Jiu-Jitsu. Had kids that came in here that couldn't even talk to other children. They couldn't even introduce themselves. And now they're blossomed into rambunctious, borderline, teasing each other and wrestling. But it's not just the children who are transformed. I watched fathers who felt disconnected from their kids find new ways to bond through these shared training, mutual respect. I see mothers coming here worried they're losing their children to negative influence, discover that they have significantly more power than they realize to shape their own children's character and choices. And these transformations, they always reminded me of my own journey. There was a time when discipline felt like punishment, when structure felt like imprisonment, when high expectations felt impossible. But I remembered the confusion of growing up without clear standards, without constant challenge, without adults who believed in me enough to see my potential and demand my best efforts. The discovery of discipline is not always about learning techniques or building physical strength. It's also about discovering what you're capable of. For me, it was discovering that I was capable of far more than I could have imagined. It's about learning that the discomfort of growth is temporary, but the strength that results is permanent. It's about understanding that the adults who push me the hardest are the ones who believe in me the most. Every parent who sees their child develop genuine confidence through earned accomplishments becomes another advocate for these principles. That's why when you meet people that do jiu-jitsu, they are so pushy with it because they're like, you can't believe it. Every family that grows stronger together through this shared commitment to excellence proves that another way is possible. And if you're listening to this and thinking this guy doesn't understand my situation, look, let me stop you right there. I don't need to understand your specific situation. What I understand is that every child deserves to grow up strong, and that every parent deserves tools that work, and that every family deserves a chance to fight back against this culture that wants them broken and divided. We all have unique circumstances, but these fundamental needs, they are not unique. Regardless of your family structure, your economic situation, your educational background, or your personal history, children all need these same things. They need consistent challenge, clear expectations, and adults who believe in their potential enough to demand their best effort. You might be a single parent working multiple jobs, or you might be dealing with differences, behavioral challenge. You might live in an area where these values seem rare or unwelcome. You might feel like you're starting from behind and you're fighting an uphill battle. None of that changes the fundamental truth that your child is capable of strength, discipline, character, and development. And they need it. The tools that work for developing character and confidence are not dependent on perfect circumstances or unlimited resources. They're dependent on the consistent application of correct principles. Every parent deserves to see their child develop genuine confidence rather than some artificial self-esteem. Every child deserves to experience the satisfaction of earning respect through character and competence rather than receiving it through participation or pity. The culture that seeks to divide and weaken families operates through a lie that some children are capable of excellence while others are not. That some families have advantages that make success possible while others are just doomed to struggle. This is a lie. And this lie often keeps parents from demanding the best from their kids. And it keeps children from discovering their own potential. I've babbled enough. I'm Jesse Jiu-Jitsu. Go train.